Hugh Turner and his wife Joyce lived in Alberta, Canada. Each winter they would spend their time in their house in Mesa, Arizona, however. Hugh was still very active at age 85. He loved playing golf and taking long walks. Hugh unfortunately showed early signs of dementia and some short-term memory loss. On the 24th of December 2010, he left his Mesa home at around noon. When he didn't return, his family got worried. There was a massive search involving local police, search and rescue teams, and even psychics, but no evidence of him was found for nearly a decade. On January 5th, 2019, a hiker was near Red Mountain when he stumbled upon human remains. DNA tests were done and was confirmed the remains belonged to Hugh Turner. This is what Hugh's daughter Janice had to say. "I don't think any of us had thought we were ever going to know what happened to our father, and I've kind of figured that as sad as it is, we just won the cold case missing persons lottery and someone found him, and that in itself is a miracle." Hugh was found about 8 kilometers from the neighborhood he lived in. He would have had to cross a canal and walk up some steep terrain to get to where he was found. Foul play is not suspected. Rick Hazelton grew up in Glen Falls, New York. When he turned 23 years old in 1986, he decided to move to New York City to become a street performer. A lot of his family relationships were strained, and most of his childhood friends have started their own families or moved away. Once Rick made it to New York City, he never contacted his family and friends, and they got worried. The search for him led nowhere, and eventually his family had declared him legally dead. Rick's childhood friend, Brian Pynchon, became a police officer, and he was determined to find out what happened to his friend. After he retired, he spent most of his time trying to find Rick. He later came in contact with a detective in Nashville who had a sketch of a man who he believed could be Rick Hazelton. It turned out that Rick did not die. He tried being a street performer for a few months, and it did not work out for him. Afterwards, he spent a couple of months in Miami. One day he came across an ad that showed a cheap airplane ticket to Denver, Colorado. From there, he hitchhiked to western Colorado, where he met the woman that would become his wife. The couple had 2 children together. In 2001, the family moved to Oregon to be closer to his wife's family. Rick believed that his friends and family did not care about him and never tried contacting them. He believed that until Brian finally came into contact with him thanks to a detective in Nashville. Only then did he realize how many people have spent years looking for him. Rick and Brian started sending letters to each other, and in August of 2019, Rick saved up money to go back to Glen Falls. He spent Thanksgiving with his family and hanged out with his friends. "If you love someone, never give up on them," is what Brian said after he was reunited with Rick. Paulette Jaster was born in 1954 in Detroit, Michigan. During the 1970s, she and her family moved to Davison, Michigan. Paulette was known as a bright, pretty girl and was well liked. She was named to the National Honor Society at age 17 and was a gifted athlete. In late August 1972, she began her studies at Central Michigan University. After the initial semester, she dropped out, however. Her family started to notice that something wasn't quite right with her, but they weren't sure exactly what it could be. She broke up with her high school sweetheart, she quit her job, and she started using marijuana. In June of 1977, Paulette told the Davison police that people were trying to kill her and use her mind. Very little was known about mental health in the 1970s, and she was sent to the Ypsilanti State Hospital for evaluation and then treatment. Her sister believes that she might have had schizophrenia. Less than 2 months after Paulette entered the state hospital, she signed herself out. Since she was an adult of 23 years of age, she was able to do this. 2 days after her birthday party in 1979, she left town without saying goodbye to anyone. She was seen carrying an army-style duffel bag. Social Security records show that in 1980 she earned $319 while working at a Walgreens in Mesa, Arizona. In 1983, Paulette's mother, Caroline Jaster, received a tip that her daughter might be in Florida and that she was in trouble. Caroline found several people that saw Paulette in Florida, but unfortunately this lead led nowhere. Near Christmas of 1989, one of Paulette's sisters received a call that she believed was from Paulette, but a woman refused to stay on the line. In 1996, there was a Minnesota Jane Doe that seemed like a positive match for Paulette, but it turned out to be a false lead. In 2005, Caroline passed away without knowing what happened to her daughter, and in 2008, her husband Edwin followed his wife. In 2014, Paulette's family was contacted by Debbie Saunders from Web Sleuths, who believed she had cracked the case. She believed that a victim of a 1980 hit-and-run was Paulette. Testing was done on the remains, and it turns out she was right. They actually used the unique freckle pattern on Paulette's face to identify her. Paulette had been buried in Houston and known only as Jane Doe from 1980 through 2014. After the identification, her grave, previously marked with only a case number, was replaced with a plaque identifying her as Paulette with birth and death dates, and the family held a memorial service there in October 2014. 21-year-old Riley Zickel studied music and chemistry at Lewis and Clark College in Portland. In 2016, during summer break, he climbed into his car and drove from Portland to Mount Jefferson. He planned to hike and camp there for one night, and then return to his car and drive to Seattle to meet a friend. Riley never made it to Seattle, and the search for him started. 340 people put in 5,000 hours searching for him in the 350 acres of forested wilderness. Riley's friends and even his half-brother also joined in the search for him. On August 1st, a hiker came forward with a photo he took on the 29th of July. Riley's family and the police believed it could be Riley, especially since the tent he took with him looks similar to the one that can be seen in the photograph. A man came forward, however, proving that he was the man in the photo, and not at all Riley. The search for him lasted longer than normal, since he had the resources and know-how to survive for long. But in October 2016, his parents held a memorial service for him, when they believed it was unlikely that he would be found alive. "We're coping," his mom said at the time. The truth of it is he was only 21, but it's kind of a beautiful story in the sense that he died doing something he loved so much, more than anything in the world, and now he's literally part of the mountain. In 2019, climbers reported to the sheriff's office that they found what they believed were Riley Zickel's remains, and they were right. The area was very prone to rock slides, and wouldn't have been searched properly 3 years ago when Riley first disappeared. Riley's father also said that Riley's clothes and equipment blended into the background. His father also said, "I was not able to learn to live with not knowing what happened. So knowing, as painful as it is better."